Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Hey guys, and thank you for tuning into another episode of the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Shamaria Jackson, and in today's episode, a caretaker stole an engagement ring from a COVID-19 patient. The murder trial of Tashawn Hightower, and we're also going to be talking about Diddy, that and a lot more here on today's social media news. Stick around. All right, guys. First off, let me turn around and tell you guys that I am so sorry for missing the past couple of podcasts. When I tell you that I got sick randomly out of nowhere, you guys, it was terrible. I was confined from being just in my home to being just in my bed. I was throwing up everywhere. I was feeling lightheaded. I was dizzy. I could barely talk. I could barely speak. I could barely walk. It randomly came up and hit me out of nowhere. I thought it was a migraine at first because my head was hurting. But then I got dizzy and then I collapsed. So I blacked out. And my roommate came home and she was like, "Why are you laying in the hallway in the dark?" And that was when I was like, oh my God, it happened. So here I am, alive. So I just thought I would bring you guys into my life so far. And I promised you guys social media news, so here it is. First off, we're going to be talking about Georgia. It just seems as if Georgia is in its own little world, doing things a little bit differently. And I have to say, I'm a little nervous for Georgia. First off, I wanted to talk about these teenagers who have been, I guess you can say, blessed, to not even have to take their driver's test. So it looks like a lot of Georgia teens won't have to take a road test to get a license. According to Georgia's governor, all behind-the-wheel road tests in the state have been suspended. The governor stated that those holding instructional permits can qualify for their licenses without the comprehensive on-the-road test. Once 16, teens can get their license without getting in a car with a test administrator. However, they must still meet all requirements. Parents will have to sign off on the 40 hours. The current order expires in mid-May. So before I get into everything else going on in Georgia, I also wanted to talk about how Georgia has reported 1,000 new cases of the COVID-19. On the same day that Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp lifted the shelter-in-place orders, which spawned immense criticism, over 1,000 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 were reported by the Georgia Department of Public Health. According to the Atlanta Journal-Construction, the department reported a total of 27,000 on Friday, compared to nearly 26,000 just one day prior. 33 new deaths were also reported on Thursday, bringing Georgia's death toll to 1,140 people. Brian Kemp, the governor, also gave the green light to businesses such as beauty salons, bowling alleys, and gyms to reopen on April 24th. Restaurants and movie theaters were allowed to open this past Monday. Businesses that open must adhere to minimum basic operations of safety, including screening workers for fevers and respiratory illnesses, wearing gloves and masks if appropriate, separating workplaces by at least 6 feet, and teleworking where at all possible, and implementing staged shifts. However, there is no word yet on how these stimulations will enforce, particularly in salons where there is a great amount of touching, making 6-foot social distancing nearly impossible, which kind of goes hand in hand with people, with Georgia kind of deciding, to let these teens, just go on and, not being able to have that in-person driver's test, on the road test. So here are my thoughts about not only, the teens not being able to take a road test, but also about these new cases. As far as the on the road test goes, I feel like it's a double-edged sword. So it's a good thing because, there's that social distancing. And you know what? I hate to say it. I'm going to be the one to say it. But if I was a 16-year-old right now and someone told me you don't have to take your road test, I would feel ecstatic. I was going through so much pressure. It's sad to say, but at 16 years old, I had a lot of things to worry about. And on my top 10 was passing my road test. I had to deal with my mom too, like breathing down my neck because she was afraid that I couldn't drive right. And that's a lot to say about a lot of 16-year-olds. A lot of 16-year-olds can't drive as well as they think they can. But I'm going to get to that in a moment. But a lot of these teenagers are so excited now because they don't have to take a road test, okay? They don't have to have something. They don't have to think about that, okay? It's not ideal. And not a lot of people want that to happen. Which brings me back to what I was saying before. Not a lot of these teenagers understand the responsibility that they have in their hands. They're just so excited about being able to drive and being able to be independent and not, depend on their mom, their dad, or their guardian, okay? Another thing that, worries me a little bit is the fact that, now that Georgia has decided to open up their businesses, open up beauty salons, open up, different things, that gives people the right to get out of social quarantining, okay? Which also means that's more risk of people getting in accidents. Why? Because the roads are not as clear. Keep in mind that teens, okay, they're already bored at home. And without this quarantining, without this reason for them to be home, since the town is now opened up, this gives people a lot more of a chance to go and run wild and run rampant, okay, which gives teens more of a risk also to go and spread the virus, especially with the 1,000 cases. Now that's going to be more because, again, you never know who may or may not have this virus. And then also, the Atlanta's mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, has expressed her disdain for Kemp's decision, urging residents to continue staying inside unless necessary. And then that also goes hand in hand with a lot of teenagers not understanding, everything that's going on. I think they understand what's going on, but not comprehending what's going on. And they're just more focused on the fact of, I want to go and see my friend. I want to go and hang out. I'm tired of being at home. I'm tired of being bored. And, that's not even just teens. That's adults as well. So it's just it's going to be very interesting to see, where they go from here. As far as not giving teens a road test, I feel like it's good for people because you get to social distance in a way, but it's also bad because you don't know who's behind the wheel. By themselves, they could be a hazard, or maybe they don't understand the road rules. My cousin was very, very good on the written test, perfect on the written test, but when it came to driving behind the wheel, it just didn't work out until she was 17. And with that being said, I'm going to end it right here on this segment. And in the next segment, I'm going to talk about another epidemic that might be hitting North America, or in this case, a small insect that was seen in North America that could be deadly. Coming up right after this break.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back. Before that break, we were talking about Georgia and basically how after they opened up their businesses, there was a case of not one, not two, but 1,000 cases of people who have contracted the COVID-19. And we were also talking about how Georgia has, just kind of let teens have their license without even taking a road driving test. And it's just going to be interesting seeing how they, continue on as, the weeks progress and seeing, what is in store for Georgia. But going on, before that break, I was talking to you guys about an insect that has been reported in North America that could be deadly toward everyone. So we have already had we're basically having the plague, okay? So we've already had to stay quarantined over a virus that has hit us. Now we have to worry about murder hornets. And if you don't know what murder hornets are, they are the deadly Asian hornets that measures up to 2 inches long and have been discovered in the United States for the first time. So the largest hornet species in the world is also known as the murder hornet, or the giant sparrow bee, is known for knocking out entire bee colonies within hours, and their powerful stingers can puncture beekeeping suits. The New York Times reported, quote, with queens that can grow to 2 inches long, Asian giant hornets can use mandibles shaped like spiked sharp fins to wipe out a beehive in a matter of hours, decapitating the bees and flying away with the thorax to feed their young. For larger targets, the hornet's potent venom and stingers, which is long enough to puncture a beekeeping suit, make up for excruciating combination that victims have likened to hot metal driving into their skin. End quote. Beekeepers in Washington state have already found hundreds of decapitated honeybees in their hives. Researchers are worried that the killer insect is colonizing since their presence is life-threatening. According to the New York Post, Japan attributes 50 deaths per year to the killer insects. Justin O. Schmitz, an entomologist at the Southwest Biological Institute in Tucson, Arizona, explained, quote, the murder hornet's toxic venom destroys red blood cells, which can result in kidney failure and death, end quote. Researchers are working on a way to halt the colonizing of deadly murder hornets. Chris Looney, an entomologist at the Washington State Department of Agriculture, told the Times, quote, this is our window to keep it from establishing. If we can't do it in the next couple of years, it probably can't be done, end quote. So what are my thoughts about these murder hornets? This is some scary mess, okay? First you have to deal with the plague. You have to worry about catching a virus that will potentially kill you. Now people are, crying and wanting to go outside and wanting to go back to their businesses and wanting things to go back to normal just for these murder bees to come out of nowhere. Actually, they've been in Asia, but we'll say out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Threatening you now, okay? So it's bad enough. If you're like me, I'm scared of bugs in general, okay? I'm terrified of bugs. The only bug that I seem to like are butterflies, ladybugs. That's it. Okay? I can barely deal with a bumblebee. At least with a bumblebee, I know for a fact, okay, if I stand still, it may not sting me. With a hornet, it's a 50% chance. Either they leave you alone or they sting you. It's one of the two. But for this murder hornet, I feel like it's like everything in its path is getting stuck. Everything in its path is getting the needle. Everything in its path. Whether you're a bumblebee, a hornet, a human, an animal, anything. Anything in its path. They're saying that this is the perfect time. This is a window, a perfect time for, us to try to get in control of these killer insects. But with people opening up businesses and trying to normalize what was once a pandemic to a lot of people, how exactly is this going to work out? And what are the procedures, if someone were to get stung. And, if they're comparing this to hot metal, I'm so shocked and out of things to say, because can you imagine, already being scared, that there's a hornet's nest, but then like walking out and seeing a hornet's nest and you're like, oh, now I gotta kill the hornet's nest, and you look over trying to get back to your car and the hornets are decapitated on the ground, and you look up and there's a 2-inch murder hornet sizing you up. It's just, I can't make this up. Like, what do we do? And if someone does get stung, like I just asked, like, what are their steps? Do they have to deal with a lot of obviously they're going to have to deal with a lot of pain, but is there a shot? How long is this shot? Like, how long is their needle? Now you have to get punctured by 2 needles. Like, the pain never ends. Okay, I feel like we left one pandemic from really March to April. Okay, now we've entered into May, and now there's killer insects on the loose. What's June gonna give us? What's June gonna give us? Green skies? What are we gonna deal with? Okay, why is 2020 doing this to us? Are we going to look up one day and see a spaceship? Like, is it going to be Independence Day? What is going on? If you guys did not catch that Independence Day quote, you're too young. But, like, what's the next procedure? With that being said, I have to end this segment right here. Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking about it. So with that being said, I'm going to end this segment right here. And in the next segment, I am going to talk about Diddy and Kim Porter, and how he is basically telling people to love the ones and show love to the ones that have shown you love through thick and thin before it is too late. And I'm going to talk about that right after this break. Stay tuned.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
In this segment, I wanted to talk about Kim Porter and Diddy. Okay, if you guys do not know who Kim Porter is, she was a model, and we all know Diddy. He is Sean Diddy Combs. He is a producer, a well-known producer at that, as well as an artist. And he opened up about having a massive garden monument in honor of Kim Porter. Kim Porter and Diddy were romantically involved for a very long time. They were together for a very long time. However, they were not married. And it's actually been over a year since Kim Porter unexpectedly passed away. And I believe she passed away of the flu. And Diddy has spent a lot of time reflecting on their relationship in his garden. Kim Porter is the mother of his children, so it was so significant to him that he had a massive statue built for her in her honor. He even speaks to her shrine from time to time. And he actually revealed that on Instagram Live with rapper Fat Joe. Diddy actually also went on Instagram Live to say that he had built the monument 3 years before her death after being inspired by her spiritual retreat. While also showing off the massive shrine, Diddy warns viewers watching to cherish the one for them because he still regrets over the way he treated Kim while she was here. He ended up saying, quote, "This is a special announcement. PSA to all the playboys, you know, when you find the one, don't be playing around with it. It's rare. Somebody that's going to understand you. Be there for you, unconditionally. Somebody that's going to understand you and be there for you unconditionally. Sometimes you can be in the game, getting hot, and want to experience everything. As a man, I feel I messed up on that. I feel like she was the one for me. I played around thinking I was running things. God is running things." End quote. So what are my thoughts on Diddy and, his monument toward Kim Porter? I feel like it's kind of like him wanting to have her back. If there's one thing my grandma taught me before she left, was you want to always, make sure that the ones you love know they're the ones you love, okay? You never want to have that shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of feeling in life, especially with your loved ones, okay? And she also taught me to just give them their roses while they're alive, okay? So that means just cherishing them, showing them that they love you, showing them that you love them as well, okay? So it's that constant, you know how I feel about you because of my actions. The thing with Diddy is that I feel like he let his words do the talking and not his actions. Because he was with Cassie for a very long time, and Kim Porter was there. She was loyal to him. She loved him. And that was genuine love. And not everyone comes across genuine love, genuine companionship, okay? You don't catch that a lot, especially in today's society. Side note, I was telling my dad that the other day. It's very hard, okay, in today's society, especially with social media and wandering eyes. Back onto the subject. And I think that's a lot of what Diddy was talking about. His eyes were wandering. He was always wondering about the hottest it girl, the one who he gets to show off on his shoulder, the pretty girl. Kim Porter was there, and let's not be fooled, okay? Kim Porter was the it girl, okay? Kim Porter was beautiful. Her daughters, Diddy's daughters, look exactly like Kim Porter. Beautiful, okay? It's so sad to see someone who had his love right there in his face every day, and he didn't catch that and understand that blessing that he had until it was gone. So again, I think what Diddy said was true. Cherish those, okay? Cherish the ones you love, because you're not in control. God is in control, or whoever you believe in is in control, okay? And truth be told, you're not going to have that long on this earth with that said person. So what are you doing? And that's another thing that I'd have to ask him. You're waiting until after this person passes away to officially show her off, when you didn't show her off when she was alive. So it's great that you have this garden, this monument, in honor of Kim Porter. But where was this garden? Where was this monument when Kim Porter was alive? That way both of you guys could be in the garden. Both of y'all could have that short amount of time with one another. And when I say short amount of time, you never know how long you have with someone. So it could be something as short as a minute, okay? You can be happy for a minute, and that minute can last for a lifetime. Or you can have happiness with that person for 50 years, and you can continue remembering it until you pass away. And that's what I mean by a short lifetime. So now I'm a little concerned with, how is Diddy going to spend the rest of his days? Is he going to continue spending it in shoulda, coulda, woulda? Or is he just going to, or is he officially going to, meet another person? Right now, I think Diddy is focusing on his kids, which he's always done, but he's focusing a little more on his kids, which is great. I personally really do like that. I just, I think he is still in his state of grieving. So I had to get that off my chest. I had to say that. And I understand his wise words that he has given us, and that he is giving other young people on social media. A lot of people who didn't have that same counseling, like I did. And people who obviously look up to Diddy and the things that he says. All right. And with that being said, that is the end of this segment. In the next segment, we are going to talk about Tashawn Hightower. He is a basketball star. He is a very talented young man, and he is on the rise to being one of the NFL's best drafts. That is, if he, doesn't get charged with this murder case. Yes, I said murder case. I'm going to be talking about that right after this break. Stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, guys, welcome back. Before that break, we were talking about Diddy and how he has created a garden in honor of his late partner, Kim Porter, and how he has just urged everyone to, just love those who is in your life right now, especially those who love you through thick and thin, especially like Kim Porter. In this segment, however, I wanted to talk about Tashawn Hightower. So, before I get into the details of Tashawn Hightower, he is a very talented basketball player from Tulane University. All right, so I want you to picture this, okay? You're 22 years old. You play guard for Tulane University. You're a very talented basketball player at that, okay? You're so talented that people from the NBA are nodding at you, okay? So any moment you might be picked for the NBA draft. That's how good you are, okay? At just 22 years old. Now, I want you to also picture you being in the car with your brother. Now, I want you to open up your eyes, and now you are the public face for a murder charge. Yes, a murder charge. And not only just a murder charge, for other counts in a Georgia homicide as well. Not just for you, but for your brother as well. Here's the story on that. Tashawn Hightower, who led the Green Wave in scoring last season, was booked in jail on multiple charges, including murder and aggravated assault. He was one of 6 people wanted in connection with a homicide in Stockbridge, Georgia. Okay, 5 of the 6 men are now in police custody, including his own brother, Jeffrey. On the same day of the shooting, Tashawn Hightower posted a tweet that said, quote, "God protect my people," end quote. Hightower's attorney is greatly denying his client was the shooter, and he was actually claiming it was his brother, Jeffrey, who fired the gun out of self-defense. The attorney is also telling, ESPN, Tashawn is innocent. He didn't shoot anyone. Hightower was arrested on Saturday at 9:50, according to jail records, and he was booked on 8 charges, including felony murder and felony aggravated assault. No bond was listed for the NCAA star. After he was arrested, he was immediately dismissed from the Tulane basketball program. Hightower had just declared himself eligible for the NBA draft on April 18th, and this was after he was posted. Okay, so this was after And then after he did the NBA draft, then all of a sudden, the murder charge, the aggravated assault, everything came in. Tashawn's brother fired the weapon and fired in self-defense. The victim came out of the house with a gun in his hand and turned his weapon toward Tashawn to shoot him. So here is what happened. Tashawn's brother fired the gun in self-defense because the victim came out of the house with a gun in his hand and turned his weapon toward Deshawn to shoot Deshawn. And that's why the victim was shot himself. Okay? Then, Hightower, as we all know Tashawn Hightower, he is obviously very talented. He averaged 15.9 points, 4.6 rebounds, 2.4 assists per game during the 2019 to 2020 season. And that is his only one at Tulane University. He played the previous 2 seasons at Georgia before transferring. But right now, he has been removed from the program because of this murder and assault charge. Deshawn Hightower's attorney, Averick Walker, said Jeffrey pulled the trigger, but it was in a case of self-defense. He continues to say that Tashawn Hightower is innocent. He did not shoot anyone. And he also says it's sad that this detective sought to make him out to be a monster, and he's not. When it's all said and done, it will come out in the wash that this person who did fire the gun shot the gun to protect Deshawn. So where do we go from here? Who do we believe? What do we believe? So we already know that a gun was fired. We know that for sure. We already know for sure that basketball career as of right now is put on hold. But who do we... Okay, can I be real with you guys? I'm going to be real with you guys. I feel like as a man of color, you're already put against a lot of people, okay, for trying to make something out of yourself. Okay, so you're obviously very talented, especially if you're only 22 years old and the NBA draft is already nodding at you. You're obviously very talented, but this is a murder charge as well as 8 counts of assault, okay? This is not only just murder, but this is assault, 8 counts, okay? So they're saying, oh, my client's not guilty for shooting someone. Just shooting. So we're just going to bypass the fact of assault. Okay. All right. As a man of color, we already have to work twice as hard. So for this man to just say, oh, it's kind of like he's expecting a slap on the wrist over these very high offense charges, okay? I don't think he's really quite getting that. Am I the only one that's not counting that? So he's saying that he didn't pull the trigger, but what did you do? So at what point do you say, at what point do you take accountability for yourself and say, this is where I messed up? Because this is where you did mess up. If you truly cared about your career, if you truly cared about joining the NBA draft, if you truly cared about progressing yourself to where you're not in the situation that you were in before, or to see your family grow, to see yourself grow, I'm not quite understanding where in the heck is there any kind of accountability that's going on, or is that a no? Because I was reading through TMZ, and then I was also reading through Gossip, and then I was also reading through The Guardian, And each and every one stated that he did not pull the trigger. They made it very progressive that the attorney said, no, my client, Mr. Hightower, did not shoot the gun. His brother did out of defense. So in some way, I don't know, you guys tell me if I'm thinking too much into this. But at one point, aren't you throwing your brother underneath the bus for shooting a gun, especially if he didn't, to where he might spend time in jail? And then he's still, Hightower, more than likely is still going to have some type of lawful act put on him, criminal act on him, because no one is answering the question, where did this assault come from? Where did these other 8 charges come from? No one's answering that. Everyone always wants to answer. And in each and every article, everyone wanted to answer where the murder charge came in, but no one was answering the other charges. So we understand that the murder charge is a big, significant one, but all of those charges are still going to keep Hightower out of the NBA draft. And at that, this young man is 22 years old. You have your whole life set in front of you. And I can't talk because I'm only like not that old, not that much older than him, but still, you have your whole life ahead of you. What are you doing? Why? What are you doing? For what? And reading through this, his tweets kind of show that he doesn't really have any, remorse, or maybe he does, or maybe he's looking for attention, but it just still doesn't add up. None of this adds up. Honestly and truly, a great deal of this doesn't add up. They're saying that, these people are going to feel so bad when it turns out that, he's not guilty. I think this is put on an image for Tulane University as well. And it wouldn't look right for a university who has the facts right now in their face for them to keep a young man on the team who might be causing some type of chaos, some type of conflict. This is a big deal. Again, this is a murder charge with assault and 8 counts on this one young man. And they want this young man to stay on the team. If this was any other young man, would they want the exact same thing? I think that there's a lot of evidence that needs to come out. At the same time, this young man has to realize that he is in a society where he has to work twice as hard. So there's no room for mess ups. There's no room for hiccups. And I feel like, you're already talented. You're already going to the top. Why would you do something to jeopardize your way to the top? Whatever that reason may be. So with that being said, I am going to end this segment right here. Otherwise, I am going to be talking about this segment all day, and then I'm going to get mad. And then it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Before that break, we were talking about Tishon Hightower and the possible murder charge that he might find, but basically it's not even just a murder charge, it's an assault case as well. And then not only that, but now he's possibly not getting picked in the NBA draft. There's actually a huge possibility that he's not getting picked in the NBA draft. And then he has now been kicked out of his basketball program from Tulane University. But what I wanted to talk about now is the woman who stole an engagement ring from a woman who was battling COVID-19. So here's the story on that. A Denver caretaker is making national headlines, okay, because she swiped an engagement ring. Not any kind of engagement ring, however. It was a $13,000 engagement ring from a woman who is dying of COVID-19. The woman's name was Elizabeth Daniels. She was 29 years old. She has been charged with a theft of an at-risk senior. She was providing a false statement to a pawnbroker and criminal possession of a financial transaction device. Just 29 years old. She went in, she was taking care of this lady, and now she has 3 counts of something just going on to her permanent record, and that's leading her into jail. So the woman who she stole the engagement ring from was 86-year-old Barbara Gust, and she allegedly stole and pawned her diamond engagement ring several days before the woman's death. The people who came forward and said that Elizabeth Daniels stole overall, the ring was Barbara Gust's family. So the woman's family, Barbara Gust's family, contacted police while they were making funeral arrangements and realized her credit card was stolen and purchases were being made. Then they discovered her engagement ring had been stolen and pawned. An arrest affidavit for Daniels was secured on that very same day. The ring was also luckily recovered. So what are my opinions about this? First off, I think it's safe to say that they did a thorough background on this caretaker and, found out, if she was, in fact, if she had any criminal record or not. Sometimes that is sufficient and sometimes it's not. But in this case, let's just say she did not have any criminal records. For someone to come in and feel, obligated enough to steal an 86-year-old's credit card and just go shopping says a lot. But the evil that you must feel and have towards someone who is on their deathbed to not only take their credit cards, but to take this lady's engagement ring as well, that is terrible. That's terrible. I understand times are tough. I understand, things get hard. But under no way, shape, or form do I feel like you should do that. My heart goes out to this family at the same time. This family is already having to go through an emotional time because more than likely this is their mom or their grandmother, aunt, someone that this is their loved one who just passed away from COVID-19, and it's emotional, okay? And then for you to turn around and take her credit cards and go on a spending spree and then take the ring, you have no idea what history that ring might have. So for you to sit up there and do that, can you, why? I guess that's my overall question. Why would you do that? And what state of mind do you just say, you know what? You know what I'm going to do? This lady is dying of COVID-19. And instead of showing remorse toward not only this lady, but the family, I am going to steal her credit cards. So initially you're stealing money. And then in the same thing, I'm going to steal this lady's engagement ring. I'm going to steal this lady's engagement ring, right? And then after I do that, I'm going to go to a pawn shop and I'm going to try to pawn it. Am I the only one who's trying to figure out like why? Okay. And then in the same sentence, okay, so let me play devil's advocate here. Can I be real with you guys? Let me play devil's advocate here. Let's just say, you know, this older lady was a nasty older lady. And let's just say, you know, the caretaker and, you know, Mrs. Gust did not get along. Let's just say she was a real piece of work. Okay. So let's just say, you know, that Miss Daniels took the ring and the money because she overall needed it and Miss Gust hasn't paid her. But, you know, just for the time being, there we go. For the time being, let's just say that happened. I still find that that's wrong. And I still feel like that shouldn't have happened. Okay. In no way, shape, or form do I feel like that should have happened. If that was the case, there are other ways for you to get paid, ways legally where you can legally get money. Again, especially during the COVID quarantine times, I understand times are tough, money is tight, you know, and you need money, but I feel like this was the wrong way to go. But all I do know is that I feel extremely sorry for the family because not only do they have to deal with, you know, burying their loved ones, burying their mom, their dad, their mom, their grandma, their aunt, their loved ones, their friends. Not only do they have to realize that they have to bury their loved ones, they now have to deal with a legal matter on someone who felt obliged enough to walk into their home, who they trusted to take care of their mom. And that trust is now gone because now they have to deal with something legally because she has decided to act in the most ugliest type of way. It's full of deceit, and I feel like she deserves all 3 accounts. I'm going to read those 3 accounts again for you, okay? Just in case you guys missed her counts. Elizabeth Daniels has been charged with theft of an at-risk senior, providing a false statement to a pawnbroker, and criminal possession of a financial transaction device. Again, my heart does go out to Mrs. Gust's family. So with that being said, this is the end of this segment. Stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
So early Sunday morning, parts of Los Angeles were rattled by a magnitude 3.3 earthquake. A screenshot of a map from the Los Angeles Times shows where the earthquake occurred at exactly 3:19 a.m. in the San Fernando Valley. It was said that light shaking was felt in the northwest section of the valley, while weak shaking was felt in the rest of the valley and into downtown Los Angeles and the west side. As the news site notes, light shaking can wake people up and rattle dishes and windows. It can also rock stationary motor vehicles, and it can feel like a truck hitting a building. So far, there has been no immediate reports of injuries or damages. And speaking of earthquakes, a 5.5 magnitude earthquake was recorded off of the waters of southern Puerto Rico early Saturday, rattling the city of Ponce. Other earthquakes ranging from 3.4 to 4.9 on the Richter scale have hit the same area. There was no tsunami activity that has been issued. My hearts and prayers go out to the people in California as well as the people in Puerto Rico. This is not the ideal time for anyone. Actually, this isn't a time at all or period where people want to deal with an earthquake or something that is going on, especially during a pandemic. So all of my hearts and prayers go out to all of my listeners as well as their families or loved ones who live in California or even who live in Puerto Rico. So with that being said, that is the end of today's podcast. And I want to thank you guys so much for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to take this time to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review, because that really helps us out. Also, be sure to follow us on all of our social media handles, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would like to thank you, and I want you guys to have a good night, a good day, and everything in between. I am your host, Shamaria Jackson, signing off until next time. Bye, guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.